Welcome back to Storm Uncensored. Tonight we dive headfirst into the moral inferno that is the global conversation about Israel. A topic so radioactive, so utterly contaminated by hypocrisy and double standards, it's a wonder anyone dares touch it. With me tonight are two guests who certainly aren't afraid of the heat. Political activist Ahmed Al-Husseini and commentator Talia Vance. Ahmed, let's cut straight to it. We see widespread condemnation of Israel for its military actions day in, day out, protests in every major Western city. Yet when we look at the brutal civil wars, the oppression, the sheer butchery happening in other parts of the world, Syria, Sudan, you name it, we hear a fraction of the outrage. Why this obsessive singular focus on the world's only Jewish state? Is it legitimate criticism, or is it something far more sinister?
This is a completely disingenuous framing of the issue, Fierce, and you know it. This is not about some mystery obsession. This is about a 7-decade occupation funded and armed by the very Western powers you represent. You cannot compare a state-sponsored systematic oppression, a colonial project, with other internal conflicts. The world is not silent on other issues, but the world is complicit in this one. That is the difference.
Complicit? So Britain is complicit, America is complicit for supporting a democratic ally surrounded by totalitarian regimes and terrorist groups sworn to its annihilation? That's not complicity, that's called having a strategic and moral backbone. You didn't answer the question.
A democratic ally? What democracy puts millions of people under military rule with no rights, no vote, no voice? You call this democracy? It is a farce. It is an ethnocracy. And your so-called terrorist groups are a predictable response to decades of brutalization.
Shouting. Oh, predictable to target civilians in cafes, predictable to fire rockets indiscriminately into cities. Is that the predictable response you're defending, Ahmed?
All right. Let's just take a breath for a second. Fierce, with all due respect, your whataboutism is a classic rhetorical trick to avoid the actual issue. And Ahmed, while I understand the anger, justifying attacks on civilians gets us nowhere. The reality is that the international framework is failing. Israel operates with a sense of impunity because powers like the US and UK allow it to. But that doesn't excuse the abhorrent ideology of groups like Hamas. We can hold two thoughts in our heads at once.
Can we, Talia? Because it seems to me the world can only hold one thought in its head, Israel bad. Ahmed, do you condemn Hamas? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
Do you condemn Israel for the bombing of Gaza, for the killing of tens of thousands of civilians, for the blockade? Yes or no, Fierce? It is a simple question. Why must I always be the one to answer your loaded Islamophobic questions?
Islamophobic? What on earth is Islamophobic about asking if you condemn a designated terrorist organization? It's pathetic. You come on here to debate, and all you do is deflect and cry victim.
Fears, that's not helping. The point is about the context of resistance. People under occupation have a right to resist under international law. The debate is about the methods, but to start the conversation by demanding condemnations from only one side is precisely the bias Ahmed is talking about.
The right to resist by slaughtering teenagers at a music festival. Is that in the UN Charter, Talia? I must have missed that subsection.
And what about the slaughter of teenagers in refugee camps by fighter jets? Is that in the UN Charter? You talk about one day. I talk about 75 years. You see history as a single news headline. I see it as a story of violent colonial dispossession.
Oh, here we go. The colonial narrative. A people returning to their indigenous homeland after 2,000 years of exile is now colonialism. It's a complete inversion of history and language. You spend so much time shouting slogans you've forgotten to read a book.
A book? I have lived this. My family is from Hebron. Don't you dare lecture me on history. Your books are written by the colonizer.
And my book is called The Truth. For 5 minutes you've been shouting, Ahmed. You accuse Israel of being an occupier, but you seem to have occupied this entire segment without answering a single one of my questions.
And you are the king of this colonial empire of noise and propaganda?
Chuckles. Well, every king needs a court jester. At least you're auditioning well for the part.
Okay. That one was not bad, Fierce.
Oh dear. See? A moment of peace is possible after all, boys.
Don't get used to it. Right, let's move on. Talia, you mentioned the international framework. It's broken, isn't it? The UN is a joke. The Human Rights Council is a cesspool of dictatorships pointing fingers at the only free society in the Middle East. What's the alternative?
The alternative is consistency. The alternative is applying international law equally to everyone. That means sanctions. That means boycotts. It means holding powerful states accountable, not just the weak ones. If a country, any country, repeatedly violates UN resolutions and the Geneva Conventions, there must be consequences.
So you support the BDS movement? You support the economic strangulation of Israel?
I support non-violent pressure to achieve political change. It worked in South Africa. Why is Israel the one state that must be immune from such tactics?
Because it is not about nonviolence. The founders of BDS have openly called for the end of Israel. It is not a movement for a two-state solution. It is a movement for one state, and it won't be a Jewish one. It is a soft war, a modern pogrom.
Immune. Talia, let's be intellectually honest for a moment. The movement you're championing doesn't just criticize policy, it delegitimizes Israel's very existence. It's a campaign of economic warfare that holds the entire nation collectively responsible. You tell me, which other country on earth faces a global movement demanding its complete academic, cultural and economic isolation? There isn't one. This isn't about pressure. It's about annihilation by 1,000 cuts. He's right, Talia. You can't separate the movement from the stated goals of many of its leaders, which is the dismantling of the State of Israel. Do you support that? The end of Israel as a state?
That's another loaded question. I support a just resolution where everyone living there has equal rights, security, and self-determination. If that means one democratic, secular state for all, then so be it. The current model of an ethnic majority ruling over a disenfranchised minority is not sustainable. It's an apartheid system.
Scoffs. Apartheid. Another lazy, intellectually bankrupt smear. An Arab judge sits on the Israeli Supreme Court. An Arab party sits in the Knesset. There are Arab doctors, lawyers, professors. To compare that complex reality to the racist evil of South African apartheid is a grotesque insult to the victims of actual apartheid. It's designed to end the conversation, not to have one.
This is for Israeli citizens. This is not for the millions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza who live under the boot of your military. They have separate roads, separate laws. If that is not apartheid, then the word has no meaning.
It's a military administration in a disputed territory, a consequence of wars started by your side. It is not a racial hierarchy. It's a security measure against the terrorism you refuse to condemn.
Call it what you will, Fierce. It's a moral catastrophe, and the world is getting tired of the excuses. The younger generation especially sees through the propaganda. They see a powerful, high-tech nation systematically crushing the aspirations of a people who have nothing.
What they see is a carefully curated social media campaign run by activists who wouldn't last 5 minutes in a real war zone. It's a simplistic morality tale for the naive. And on that note of unresolved, intractable rage, we are out of time. My thanks to my very, very vocal guests, Ahmed Al-Husseini and Talia Vance. This is Storm Uncensored. Good night.